and welcome to your New Jersey. I'm Marie Falbo. Today, we're at On3, which is situated on the Clifton-Nutley border. We're here to take a tour with the site's developers, Eugene Diaz and Edwin Cohen of Prism Capital Partners, and find out why their campus is the ultimate place to live, work, and play in the Garden State. This property is steeped in so much history. So the whole purpose of this episode is to learn about On3, past, present, and future. Let's go into the past first. When was this developed?
Well, so Roche Pharmaceuticals was here as their U.S. headquarters for over 87 years. So back in the early 1920s, they acquired the property and started building buildings. And over the course of each decade, they continued to add and expand on the campus and change the campus. And so at its peak, probably in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was over 4 million feet of space on this campus occupied by Roche and over 10,000 employees a day that were here.
You were telling us off camera about when Roche left a big gap, but they wanted to do right by the state and its constituents. So tell us about how Roche kind of left the place tidy.
Yeah, so look, hats off to Roche. In the first place, they were very concerned about their legacy here. I mean, they have a rich legacy of innovation and creativity that came out of this campus. I mean, drugs like interferon and Valium, developed here. They were concerned and hopeful that somebody would steward this property for the future and continue that sort of rich development of a potential innovation type campus. And I think one of the reasons they selected Prism was because of our local ties to the community and our desire to make this a truly sort of vital mixed-use 24/7 pedestrian-friendly sort of campus. From that standpoint, they spent an enormous amount of money also cleaning up and doing environmental cleanup on the property, a lot more than they had to do. So no one's happy they left New Jersey, right? But they did it in a first-class fashion and gave us, some tremendous bones of buildings to work with to really jumpstart and create, I think, what's going to be the most successful redevelopment project in New Jersey's history.
Thank you for inviting us here today, and we're so honored to have our television studios housed inside one of your buildings in Azai.
And we are very happy to have you as a member of our campus.
Yes, well, and I remember when you took it over, you had the sign, just like a banner, On3, live, work, and play. And I remember passing there, driving home from my office I used to have in Fairfield to Jersey City. And it sparked something in me. I'm like, ooh, they're gonna have offices here. That's awesome because it's close to Manhattan, you have the views. Maybe one day I will be in here, and then fast forward, here we are. So,
and there we go.
I know, and you really are developing something where anyone would want to come live, work, and play at. So how special is that for you?
Well, my partner and I, we had a vision when we looked at this campus. What New Jersey lacked, and what we saw as a golden opportunity was to have a major development which would encompass all phases of commercial and residential life. The phrase has been bandied about for years, live, work, play. Well, we implemented it, and that was our vision from day one. And we saw the opportunity to have a landscape on which we could be very creative and adjust different phases of the campus as we were able to successfully install different types of users on the campus. When people say, well, you developed a master plan, yeah, we're in about our 20th version of a master plan now, based upon how things evolved over the 7.5 years of our ownership of the campus. So what we are seeing reach reality is an absolute dream of ours that we had when we first looked at the property.
Well, you had good bones to work with, though. You have an amazing location. The Azai building itself, I mean, it was modern back in the 1920s. Now in the 2020s, it still resonates.
Well, when people talk about the buildings, just as you have mentioned, today you could not afford to build a building of the quality of the buildings that were built by Roche due to the mechanical infrastructures that were put in place, the type of construction, the materials used, the floor loads provided. you could build it at an outrageous cost, but you would never be able to get a return on that investment. That's how I mean it. Roche looked at it as their corporate headquarters for the North American marketplace, and they spent whatever needed to be spent to build the properties correctly. And when we did our due diligence on the campus and looked at the properties, these properties were just magnificent in every aspect.
They totally were. Well, let's learn a little bit about you.
Okay.
And, yeah, so how did you get involved in this crazy world of real estate development?
Well, I'm not going to bore you with a very long story, but I thought I was going to be an engineer until I spent in my pre-engineering days at college dealing with other people that would be my business mates. And I decided after the first semester that I no longer wanted to be an engineer. My brother had gone into the real estate business, and it sounded very exciting. And right out of college, I went to work for a major New York real estate firm. And I started doing some work in the outlying suburbs of Manhattan. The suburbs were Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, you know, and the Bronx. And I developed an affinity for learning those marketplaces. And I eventually started up the suburban division of a New York-based real estate firm by opening up offices on Long Island, Westchester, Connecticut, and northern New Jersey. So my familiarity with the New Jersey marketplace in particular started back in the late 1960s. All right, so that's how long I have been involved in the northern New Jersey marketplace. When I started out in the business, I couldn't rub two nickels together, and even though I did work for an owner of property, I wanted to learn the business from their aspect. I was hoping one day the dream would come and I'd be able to get into the development business. And it took me several decades to get there, but lo and behold, 22 years ago, Gene Diaz and I, you know, got together, and now you see the results 20 some odd years later.
Wow.
And I'm in love with the business, and that's why I keep doing it.
Well, you care too so much about the fabric of the Garden State and how you can better for not only in business but in residential, and I think that's so important to your work as well.
We definitely do. Look, I've been a believer of integrating, you know, with the communities that we deal with. We're active participants in various things within the community. Theater League of Clifton is something that we've been involved in ever since we came on campus, and a couple of other organizations as well.
Tell us about Prism.
So, you know, Prism is a 22-year-old firm founded in New Jersey by, you know, people that were senior real estate people, including myself, from had other history in the state, working at other companies, and it was founded really with the principle of you know, developing multi-asset class strategies. So, opportunities in residential, both rental and for sale housing, research and development, medical, commercial office, industrial and retail. So, you know, our goal is to redevelop New Jersey and to continue to develop and contribute to the New Jersey economy. We're New Jersey born and bred people. We've been fortunate to be able to have completed a number of really unique and noteworthy developments and redevelopments in the state. In West Orange, Thomas Edison's battery factory has received tremendous amount of notoriety. I mean, a historic structure. Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors of all time, right? Here in New Jersey, again, I think people don't give New Jersey enough credit for the innovation economy that we were and are and can continue to be. So I think Thomas Edison still has more patents than any individual at the USPTO, and their address happens to be our building in West Orange that we redeveloped into 333 apartment units. We did the Parkway Lofts in Bloomfield, which was a General Electric factory building. Wonder Lofts in Hoboken, adaptive reuse of the whole Wonder Bread building. Those were luxury condos. A series of other transactions throughout the state too, an office and other commercial properties.
So you purchased the property in 2016, October 1st. Then what?
Well, my partner and I had many discussions with the townships, and one of the things that we had talked with both towns about was that this was a commercial campus to start, and it would remain predominantly a commercial campus. But in order for it to be a successful commercial campus, we would need to introduce other types of uses to create that environment that will help these companies want to be here and want to grow here, to help them attract the best labor and the brightest labor and retain the best and brightest minds to come here. That meant introducing retail and residential aspects to it. But the first and foremost goal was we had 1.2 million feet of empty buildings. We had to get them re-rented. We had to stabilize the tax base for both municipalities. And Clifton and Nutley were not known really as a hot haven of investment and office occupancy, right? It was, Morristown, Parsippany, Princeton, those areas had much bigger names as being that kind of environment. But the vision that we presented to a number of companies, in record time, we repopulated 1.2 million feet of buildings, almost 3.5 years, unheard of in the state, and right at the cusp of COVID.
You walked into Hackensack. How did you know Hackensack was looking to branch out?
So it was interesting. While we were negotiating with Roche, Hackensack walked in the door and said they needed a little bit of space. Oh. And they had discussed it with Roche. We hadn't signed a contract yet. We were still negotiating. Kudos to Hackensack. They saw an opportunity to grow their business and make this campus that anchor for them in order which to grow. So they took what was going to be a very small transaction, teamed up with Seton Hall University and made it a very large transaction, and coincident with our closing, signed a long-term lease for over 500,000 square feet on the campus, and they brought with them a brand new 4-year medical college. The Graduate School of Nursing moved over from Seton Hall's campus in South Orange. Seton Hall also relocated their Graduate School of Allied Health Sciences. That created an anchor for us to begin the redevelopment as sort of a true bio-ecosystem, almost like a Cambridge. Yeah. Right, where we would be able to use that to springboard to attract more pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies. And you know what? It worked. It worked. About a year and a half later, we entered into a transaction with Quest Diagnostics. And Quest built their largest diagnostic laboratory in the world that they have, over 250,000 feet, where today they are doing over 85,000 individual tissue and blood and samples a day out of that facility, and can go up to over 100,000. Eisai Pharma, the Japanese pharmaceutical company that has the first FDA approval for an Alzheimer's drug, Leqembi, so proud that they're here innovating and creating stuff. Hackensack then brought over, after the initial lease, they took over another 90,000 feet of space and brought with them a Center for Discovery and Innovation, which is an NIH-funded laboratory. They have over, I think, 100 fundamental researchers, PhDs, in that building now, just doing amazing type of innovation and creation in the biomedical fields, in oncology and neurology and Alzheimer's as well, and infectious disease.
Well, you mentioned COVID, continuing the legacy of On3 and the discoveries made here, the rapid-fire COVID test.
Yeah, the 15-minute COVID test was created right here on this campus. We're very proud of that. We're very proud to have been able to enable, right, the continuation of innovation in the state, and maybe innovation on this campus in particular, sort of in terms of the next generation of what this beautiful 116-acre canvas is starting to look like.
Let's dive into the Eisai story a little bit, because selfishly, that's my favorite part of this. This is why we're here today. Thank you, Alex Scott. Our television studios are located inside an Eisai. Just wonderful work, amazing people. How did you get them here in the middle of a pandemic?
So they were in multiple buildings, and like a lot of companies, were looking at their future and a need to expand and grow. They had a number of drugs in trials that were looking very successful, in particular their Alzheimer's drug, but they also have significant advancements in oncology and joint venture with other pharmaceutical companies that have been wildly successful as well. So they were looking to continue to grow their business and consolidate from a number of facilities into one facility. I think this campus and the Eisai building, which is one of the tallest buildings sort of, west of the Turnpike in New Jersey at 15 stories, it just appealed to them. I think we had done a tremendous job, Prism had done a tremendous job of renovating the building. It looks very different today than it did when Roche built it. Roche built it as a copy of their original headquarters in Basel, Switzerland. So it had a blank wall where if you remove the wall, you could stare at the Manhattan skyline. So We took that opportunity to remove the wall. I think when the ASI execs got to this campus, understood the opportunity to create sort of a mini Cambridge, a thriving bioecosystem, which they wanted to be a part of that kind of environment. They wanted to be a part of a mixed-use campus. They understood our vision, and then they saw the quality of that property that they could lease. Now, I think they were sold. I found out subsequently, I don't think it hurt that apparently Dr. Naito's son, or Dr. Naito himself, may have spent some time on this campus with Roche many, many years ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
apparently when they went back to Japan, they modeled their headquarters in Japan much like the Roche campus was. So there may have been an affinity for that.
Now let's look to the future, because you have a lot of plans coming up for this complex.
So we've been successful with both municipalities in adopting a series of redevelopment plans thus far to enable the expansion and redevelopment of the campus to this point. About a year and a half ago, Clifton approved a plan to allow us to introduce some retail, service retail, mostly restaurant, food and beverages, and a sort of grocery market anchor to the,
anybody
to the
you
front
can
of the
name
campus.
that are coming in?
No, not naming yet, although you can see the Starbucks will open in September or October already.
Yeah, everyone's very excited about that, by the way.
I am as excited as you, because we office here too, and I'm a Starbucks fan, so it'd be nice to be able to get that iced coffee in the afternoon by just walking to it as opposed to driving, right? So that's the goal. So we're going to begin to populate that. We have a number of leases pending and applications for approvals for site plan now that it's zoned for it, pending in front of Clifton. But the next big phase is adding residential. We recently presented to the Clifton, the public, at a council meeting, our Phase 4 plan, which proposes to introduce just over 1,000 residential units to this campus. That's a wonderful mix. It'll also provide some, great first floor retail as part of that development. But that gets us to the point where we fulfill the vision. And I think that will also enable us to continue to attract additional companies. We still have almost another 1 million square feet of research and office type space that we can construct here. And finally finishing the vision of having this mixed use type of environment will help us attract those other tenants here and continue to add jobs as well as residents to this area.
Let's take a tour. You ready to take a walk in the 95-degree heat?
If we don't melt, we'll make it.
So tell us what is happening back here.
This is a new built-to-suit for Hackensack Meridian Health. Is a new 80,000-foot medical office building. It's going to house a variety of types of doctors in different modalities, as well as infusion therapy and imaging, MRIs and X-ray and the like in this building. So, Hackensack bringing quality health care, to the neighborhood and to the local market, so people can come in and see their doctor and do that. And I think it's terrific to have that active on the campus as well.
Yeah.
The garage is being built primarily for the building, but that garage will also support over 100 parking spaces for the hotel, which is to be built over here on this vacant parcel that you see behind me. And that's a approved 266 room Marriott AC, Marriott Element dual brand hotel. So extended stay and luxury limited service. So we hopefully get that started in later this year, maybe wintertime starting of construction there. We're very proud of our, my partner refers to our ugly duckling, but this is our central utility plant. So we actually generate electricity here from 2 co-hybrid turbines. Over 10 megawatts of electricity is generated here. And heating and air conditioning, everything on this campus, that Roche left us, we've been able to reinvest in and expand. And this includes all the redundant heating and cooling for all these buildings. So if there's ever another Superstorm Sandy, God forbid, this campus will be fully functioning with air conditioning, heating, and electricity. So all these buildings and people will be able to still come here and work and live and continue to do their things that they want to do on this campus.
So maybe the ugly duckling is what powers this campus, but what really is going to fuel everybody is what's behind here.
Well, that's actually the only Starbucks on the south side of Route 3 going from Wayne to the west to the Lincoln Tunnel.
Oh,
Hard to imagine in this day and age
Yes.
when there are so many thousands of Starbucks that this will be the only one. And we wanted to make sure it was very unique. we insisted on a design being at the main entrance to the campus that is really a wow. And they'll be operational probably by this October. And then there'll be a series of others, behind it.
When do you anticipate all of this coming to fruition?
Well, the original planners said it was going to take 20 to 25 years to implement a final, master plan and occupancy for the campus. We've owned the property for 7.5 years. We're well on the way. It's going to be a lot shorter. Had we not been slowed down somewhat by COVID, we would have been even 2 years ahead of where we are today. We're certainly proud of what we've been able to accomplish in the amount of time that we have. And I would say within the next 5 to 6 years, roughly, with the absorption and the construction of our phase 4, which is the residential component of our campus, it'll be done within that time frame.
Wow.
When Roche was here, 99% of this campus was covered in buildings or asphalt, right? And we're reducing that coverage ratio as part of our development and moving down to about 78%. Do the math on 116 acres. That's adding 20 acres of new green space, right, to this area in this campus. So environmental-wise, right, stormwater-wise, that's a benefit to stormwater as well, which everyone talked about in New Jersey, as being an issue, right, with the increasing in intensity of storms. That's helping drainage in the area. So all the things that we're doing, pro-development, really involved about smart development, right, and doing the smart thing and doing the right thing and doing it in the right fashion, but still doing it when you look around in a tremendous a vision of quality, right? We have the best designers working for us to design these buildings. Even our parking garages are designed with specialty effects on the panels outside, so you can see that. So we're creating the most luxurious environment for a mixed-use campus that you're going to find anywhere in the country.
You also feel very safe on this campus. So at night, when I go to my car, as I walk, the lights automatically turn on. Love that feature.
We had to have a negotiation with one of the towns over this issue because they did not like LED lights because they thought they were too white. We literally spent 9 months, had studies done from Rensselaer Polytechnical Institute on lighting and impact of lighting, and were able actually to convince them ultimately to approve new LED lighting throughout the campus. So all of the lights throughout the campus are now energy efficient LED, but we also we have over 127 cameras, security cameras, active on this campus at all times.
Wow.
So constantly being reviewed. So it takes a full staff, a mini army, to sort of run this campus on a daily basis. And we do that both from an operations standpoint, a security standpoint, and an overall management standpoint.
The roads here are very interesting. It's like a mini roller coaster.
Well, lots of people pick that up. I think what you have to understand is, again, there's miles and miles of underground utilities and tunnels, distributing all the heat, electricity, and chilled water lines around the campus. So every time we build something, we end up realizing, oh, we can't be on a flat elevation. We have to accommodate. They're too expensive to move, so we build around them and over them. So development on this campus is extremely expensive as a result of the fact that we have that kind of infrastructure that benefits everybody, and we make our way around it.
It's very clear to me, just being here with you today as owners, you care. You're so involved in every process, and it's a big operation here, but you care, and that's so important.
It's every aspect of a project is very important, from the simplest to the most complicated. And my partner Gene and I, we are involved in every aspect of that, from the designs, from the finished levels, and we literally pay attention to every level of detail, every detail, bar none.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. We'll see you back here next week.